As Nintendo continues to develop female heroines in 2024, Echoes of Wisdom represents another attempt to bring Princess Zelda to the forefront. After the controversial release of Princess Peach Showtime, which many found too childish and unimpressive, the new game promises a different approach where Zelda is at the center of things for the first time. The game's story begins with the series' traditional prologue, where the player briefly controls Link. However, he is soon taken over by a magical rift, and Princess Zelda is forced to take over his duties to save the world. The world of Hyrule finds itself under threat, with spatial rifts consuming people and territories, and a spirit named Triff comes to Zelda's aid to help her deal with the looming threat. Despite the game's attempt at seriousness, Echoes of Wisdom's plot suffers from excessive simplicity. The characters seem naive, their dialogues lack depth, and their motivations are reduced to the elementary concepts of good and evil. Nevertheless, the game compensates for this with freedom of exploration and a variety of mechanics. Visually, the game is reminiscent of Link's puppets from past projects, but gameplay is oriented more towards Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. It's not a classic Metroidvania, but an open-world project with plenty of creativity where players can get creative with challenges. Fans of the latest games in the series will surely like the references to the previous installments, as well as the ability to visit familiar locations. One of the central mechanics in Echoes of Wisdom is Princess Zelda's ability to copy surrounding objects and creatures, which is a key gameplay element. However, unlike Link, who is used to swinging a sword and defending herself with a shield, Zelda uses a variety of objects like pots, crates, plants, and even monsters to fight enemies. The game feels like a strategy game. Players have to rely on summoned creatures to defeat enemies, which is somewhat similar to the combat elements from the Pokémon games. The game's main flaw is a sense of unrealized potential. Zelda is no Link, and this is evident in her fighting abilities. The developers tried to fix this by adding the ability to briefly transform into Link, but in practice, this is only a minor mechanic. The heroine's main copying abilities, however, are interesting but not fully revealed. Summoned creatures such as bokoblins, snakes, and bats can be memorized after first defeating them and used in battle in the future. This system brings variety to gameplay, allowing players to experiment with different combinations of monsters for challenges and battles. However, the mechanics themselves sometimes seem simplistic. Creatures don't interact with each other, and combat strategies are reduced to basic decisions. In addition, Zelda can manipulate objects by moving them or making them repeat her movements. These features seem promising at first, especially when the game doesn't impose certain solutions. For example, you can build a ladder out of beds to climb a high platform or use the same beds to regenerate health during boss battles. As you progress through, however, it becomes apparent that Echoes of Wisdom doesn't offer complex puzzles or deeply thought-out gameplay situations. Unlike larger and more systematic games such as Breath of the Wild, players are given much less freedom here. Summoned creatures and objects don't interact with each other, and the world seems static, devoid of interaction between monsters and other characters. The main quests suffer from a lack of variety. Despite Zelda's interesting abilities, the tasks remain simple and sometimes predictable. Battles with story bosses are always resolved in a preconceived way, making the game less exciting. And the low difficulty level, including the ability to put beds right in battle and heal on the spot, reduces the sense of challenge. On the technical side, Echoes of Wisdom draws heavily on developments from Link's 2019 Awakening. Despite using the same engine and styling as a toy diorama, the game suffers from borrowing assets, making it sometimes feel like a continuation of a previous project. On the regular Nintendo Switch, the game produces a steady 60 frames per second only in dungeons, and performance is erratic in the open world. Vignette blurring remains an issue, as in Link's Awakening, though enthusiasts have already found ways around this limitation on hacked consoles. Stylistically, the game strives for a toy-like aesthetic, which may not appeal to everyone. Numerous objects look like they're made of plastic, which creates a sense of some cheapness. Princess Zelda walks around in a raincoat most of the time, which adds even more unremarkability to the image. The only thing that really catches the eye are the spatial discontinuities, which create visual distortions and add dynamics to the game's world. In conclusion, Echoes of Wisdom is an ambitious attempt to make Princess Zelda the protagonist by offering her creative abilities to solve problems. However, despite the interesting ideas, the game lacks depth and complexity. Simple puzzles, low difficulty, and limited open-world interaction leave a feeling of unrealized potential. For fans of the Zelda series, this game may be a curious experiment, but it clearly lacks the scale and sophistication of the more successful installments in the series.